Hello and welcome to episode 5 of our DMUTalks series. I cannot believe it's got to episode 5 already. If you've watched all 4 episodes beforehand, then well done you. You get our special congratulations. You can watch the back catalogue of our talks on our YouTube channel and on our DMU website, so do jump on there if you want to catch up. So welcome and good evening. Now, the good news is today you are not just stuck here with me. I'm Jamie, by the way. I always forget that bit. We have got a student life focus to this session. So we're looking at student life from lots and lots of different aspects, from the journey to becoming a DMU student through to the actual student experience itself. And the great news is you've not just got me talking about student life from back in the day, and it really was back in the day. You have got some real students from a wide variety of our courses to talk about their own personal experiences and their own personal insights. And we're going to do it in kind of a Q&A type way. So we'll throw various questions their way and get them to come in with their own experiences, their own journey, to try and give you a different flavour. Because student life isn't just a one-size-fits-all. Student life is a unique experience, and it is exactly what you make it. And if you've got questions, you've got comments, throw the comments out to us in the chat, and we'll pick them up as we go and bring them into the conversation. Right, enough of me talking. Do you guys want to introduce yourself in terms of where you're from, what course you study, and what year you're on, and any other tidbits you want to put into your intro? Hannah, can we go with yourself first?
Yeah, I'm from Cheltenham. I'm currently living in Leicester for uni. I do combined with marketing, and I'm in my 3rd year, and I've just come back from a placement at River Island.
Wow, fantastic. River Island during the COVID experience. That must be experience for sure on your CV, that one. We'll come back to that, I'm sure, as we go. Morgana, how about yourself? Hi.
Hi, I'm doing journalism and international relations. I'm on my 2nd year, and I'm from Portugal. Yeah.
Fantastic. So already we've got completely different courses and completely different backgrounds, which is great, almost like we planned it. Alex, good evening. How are you, sir?
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm a 3rd year pharmacy student, originally from Lincoln, so not too far away from Leicester. But yeah, so I live in Leicester now with uni.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Lauren, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. So my name's Lauren. I do business and management, and this is actually my 5th year at DMU because I've done a placement year and I'm now on my master's for the same course. So anything you may want to know about the university, I've probably lived through it. And the small tidbit that I always throw in is that I am an estranged student. So if there's any transition students that are watching the chat today that have any queries about how their course might work around either if you're an Article 26 leaver, care leaver, or strange student, then ask away and I'll do my best to answer.
Thank you very much, Lauren. I think what that goes to show is just in the 4 students who've got with us here, the diversity in terms of the background, the course of interest, and I'm sure as we go through the conversations, the priorities in the research, the lifestyle, and just the way you live your life as a DMU student is massively different. So we definitely will try and get that across. So what we'll do is we're going to go through a huge range of different topics and try and give you a flavour of what the student life is like, but also put these guys back in their own student journey so they can visualise what life was like themselves back in, well, a few years back in your case now, when you were doing your own research and making your own planning. So the first thing I want to talk about is the course. So when it comes to university, the course is a thing you're really fundamentally paying your money for. The tuition fees go fundamentally towards the course, and the course facilities and the course teaching and the course resources. So what was important to you guys when you did the research in terms of choosing your actual degree, subject and course? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it a natural progression from your A-levels? You know, anything you want to throw in there about your own research process? I'm happy to go with whoever wants to start first, or I can pick someone, whichever way you want to do it. Oh, I'm going to pick someone. I'm going to pick Alex. I can see him almost speaking. Go on, Alex.
So for picking pharmacy, it sort of was both a natural progression from my A-levels and BTECs that I did, but it was always something that I was looking at. So I knew from quite early on in my school career that I wanted something that was very hands-on, very practical, in a healthcare setting. So pharmacy was sort of the natural route for that. It really combined a lot of the things I was interested in. And when I was looking at courses, I wanted, again, that mix between the science and the actual hands-on experience with patients, because actually at the end goal, it's more patient central than it is the science based. So it was about finding that balance, and DMU, the course offered, really fit that profile.
Sounds good. Did you do A-levels or BTECs before doing your pharmacy degree?
So actually I did a combination of both. So I did A-level maths and chemistry, and then I did BTECs in health and social and applied science. So I had both that coverage. So anybody that's listening that is sort of thinking I'm doing a range or one of or a set profile of either way you can get in. So it's about your experience and how comfortable you are in that exam style over what you are actually studying.
Absolutely. I think there's a bit of an urban myth that A-levels are better than BTECs and BTECs are less good. In reality, it is about fitting your own learning styles. They're worth the same UCAS points. It's picking the combination of subjects that suits you best. It can get you from A to B and hopefully give you some enjoyment at the same time. Thank you, Alex. Sounds good. How about yourself, Hannah? What was your journey in terms of researching your course? Was it an easy choice? Was it difficult? Did you know from a young age? Or were you scrambling around in year 13 thinking, what do I do?
Well, I was obsessed with fashion, always been obsessed with clothes. I did textiles, English, and mathematics. I knew I wanted to do fashion. Something that was quite important to me was I'm dyslexic and I didn't want to do a course which had exams. I struggle. One of the amazing things about the course for me was that they don't do exams. It's all coursework based. So that suited me really well in terms of playing to my strengths and knowing that I was going to get that support to help me complete something in a very easy way. And also a good point was that the course is very mixed. I wanted to do buying and marketing so it could get a job, but it still allowed me to do my creative side, which was amazing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Sounds great. Almost of a classic not unmuting myself then. I managed to catch myself at the last second. Fantastic. Thank you for that. How about yourself, Lauren, with your business course? Was that a straightforward decision to go into a commercial business course, or were you torn with different subjects as well?
Well, I had quite a strange route into uni in general. Given my background, wasn't really encouraged to go to university, and it wasn't until I transitioned to a different school. I went to a state boarding school where they kind of just assumed everyone went to university, and so assumed that I was going to as well. So they were just like sort of came up to me and said, "Okay, what university are you applying for?" And you know, obviously I was only sort of, how old are you when you apply for uni? 17, 18. So I was just like, I don't know what or where. I've got no idea. Took my passion and took what I'm fairly good at. My passion was actually in child nursing. Really wanted to be a child nurse, but have zero patience. So I was just never going to make it in child nursing, was I? But then someone else said, look, you should just go for business. You'd probably quite enjoy it. I came on a couple of open days, spoke to a few people, and I just thought, yeah, you know, that's probably sort of where my skills lie. And then it came to finding the actual place to go. I don't have any ties geographically anywhere in the UK, so I could literally weld as my voice, I could have gone anywhere. And it's a bit like Hannah. It was more to do with the assessment. So for business, we have the Fox's Lair, which is basically Dragon's Den, but at DMU. So I had an entire module was focused on how I was graded in the Fox's Lair. managed to come first, got 90 something percent in the module. So obviously, like, you know, something like that, if I had an exam, I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably sort of scraped to a 43 or something, but instead came out, you know, had the chance to actually show my skills and show what I'm good at and show I do know the course, but maybe just not in the way other people know it, and came up with a grade that fully reflected how much I knew. So that partly is why I chose this course, to be honest. It's just, like Hannah, the assessments, there's just so many different, obviously we do still have exams and we do still have to sit through some of them, but in general, there's so many different ways that you can be assessed, that it's not just, you know, it's not just people sat in an exam room writing away, trying to, you know, rack their brains on something they've been memorizing, but not actually learn. Here, you kind of, you don't memorize stuff, you learn it and then you put it into practice. So yeah, that kind of drew me towards this course.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you. It sounds a really interesting journey you've been on as well. You know, it's really
crazy.
It's interesting to know how the different routes everyone comes through, and yet everyone ends up potentially on the same course, leading to the same routes, but coming from these different starting points. Then what you say about the course there, it's not just about people research what does the course include academically. That's where a lot of focus tends to come. You want to look at all of those details you've talked about. How's the course assessed? Is there an opportunity for a work placement? How's the course taught? Is it lecture based or is it more hands-on? It's your chance to find something that really, really, really suits you as an individual, rather than just going through the motions and picking something that fits necessarily as availables. Be brave and be adventurous and pick something you really think is a good choice for you. And Morgana, coming on to yourself, you do a joint course, don't you? So you do 2 subjects rather than a single subject. And that's normally a sign of somebody who's got really big ideas about different areas, or someone who couldn't make their mind up. Which one of those 2 things were you?
So I was really interested in politics and international relations more specifically, and I was given the opportunity to do international relations with politics. But because I'm an international student, I did a foundation year to kind of help me get settled and get used to writing in English and everything. And as I did it, I realized that maybe international relations with politics would not be the ideal fit for me. So I started to research, and I realized that I really enjoyed communication and journalism in general. So I thought if I could combine both, I would get like the best of both worlds, kind of.
Sounds good. And are you getting the best of both worlds? Is it? Because sometimes people worry a joint is kind of double the effort. Is it genuinely 50% of each? And can you manage your time across the 2 okay?
Yeah, it is 50% of each course. And you don't have all the modules you would have if you were doing a single honors. So you can manage your time just fine because you're having half of each. So it's okay. It's manageable.
Sounds good. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right. So that's lots of info on the course. And if you're watching and you've got questions about the course, do throw those questions our way and we'll try and tackle them as we go. There's so many different things to think about. But with the subject, really, it's all about doing your research and spending the time, because some of the degree courses we do, say take Lauren's business and management, there's going to be 100+ universities that do business and management, but every one of those degrees is going to be subtly different. It's not just a case of looking at the sort of 3 lines in the prospectus and going, that looks all right. It's genuinely delving down into those layers below the very, very top level to find out what the course is really all about. And when we come to the next subject as well, the university itself, it's not just looking again at the top level going, it's ranked 23rd, that's all right, I'll go. It's about really looking out what's important to you, what do you want from the experience, and narrowing it down from there. So you picked your course, you know what subject you want to do. You've now got to narrow it down to one of the universities out of the hundreds of universities there are. And Morgana, in your case, you're not just talking about uni, you're probably talking what country as well, just to add further complexity to it. So when it comes to how did you pick your university, let's go to Lauren first on this one. So you said you weren't affiliated to any one particular area. What made you choose to come to DMU and choose to study in Leicester?
So still quite a strange story on this one, as per. I originally got accepted into the University of York, which of course, Russell Group uni kind of thing, seemed to be a much better uni. But I did it a little bit backwards. I got onto the university because I did what I think a lot of people will do, and what's going to be a big struggle this year with everything being online, is that I went on sort of what I think a lot of students' perception of universities are. So some people look at league tables, they hear about, oh wow, uni of da-da-da is better, or uni of the here is better. And they seem to think that these universities that have grown sometimes from a polytechnic, or maybe aren't just the most well-known university in an area, they think those aren't as good. And that is definitely what I went in with, because the people I went to school with have gone to University of Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, all these kind of like a massive names. And I was like, okay, where can I get to? Got into the University of York, went for an open day, and I just realised it really was not my uni. It just wasn't for me. It was a very campus-based uni, a bit like ours, but their campus was actually away from town. And not only that, their business campus isn't on their main campus. So I'd have to get a bus to the main campus just to go to the library. And I live in the library. So to get a bus there and back, no go. Like, one, I'd spend half my tuition fees on traveling because I'm partial to an Uber. And, two, it's just like, you're just so segregated, and that just wasn't for me. Some people liked it, but I literally went on the open day. I just found it just wasn't for me. And I had already been accepted for DMU, which I'd chosen based on sort of predicted grades. I was just like, okay, well, I can get into this uni. It seems like a decent uni, and I knew another person that was going, and we'd gone on an open day originally, and I was like, yeah, like I'm feeling this uni. It's got a bit of a vibe about it. Seems quite fun. It seems like it's not just shove your head in a book and live there kind of thing. Like there was an actual life to the university. And also I'd looked into a lot of the uni leavers and what they're doing, and they seem to be in like some amazing jobs all around the world. So I just applied here, sort of basically just to fill up my choices. I was like, okay, yeah, I need to apply to some more places. I'll apply here as well, because if I get in, I'll still be happy. And then obviously went to Uni of York, not a fan, dropped out, and then ended up coming here. And to be honest, I'm so happy, because I know some people that went to York, and like they've enjoyed their uni experience, don't get me wrong, but not in the way I think I'd have enjoyed it there. And so yeah, it's just, especially here as well, being an exchange student offered me so much support, so which York just didn't have in place. So yeah.
And 5 years later, here you are, still here.
5 years later, and I'm still not left.
Never
Looking to stay another grade.
you go to one of those schools that you've talked about, certain types of schools, it is almost the automatic expectation that one, you'll go to uni, and two, you will go to a Russell Group type uni. And if you don't, it's almost considered a slightly kind of unusual, quirky, why are you wasting your UCAS points type choice?
Yes.
But in reality, the way you're describing it there shows there's so much more to university than purely a baseline ranking, because yes, you're having an academic experience, but you're also having a life experience, an experience that's going to provide a platform for the future. So that sounds really, really positive, and definitely something you said there will definitely strike a chord with a lot of people who are tuning into this session. So Morgana, you've got this big decision, Morgana. So you're Portuguese, so you're not coming from just down the road. What was your motivation to study, first of all, in the UK, and secondly, how did you narrow it down to studying at DMU?
Okay, so my experience with deciding to move away from home was a bit random as well. Like it wasn't like one of those things that you're like, oh, I've wanted all my life to go and live in the UK. It was more like it just sort of happened. because I went to a fair, a university's fair in Lisbon, where I live, and they had all these options. And then there was this agency that puts students to study abroad, helps them with the process and everything. And my friend was really interested, so we went, and they ended up getting my details, and they were like, oh, you have a nice score, you could get into, so would you like to have a meeting and everything? And I went with my parents, and we decided it was the best choice because it would offer me valuable life experience that I don't know if I could have gotten uh, any way else, like anywhere else. And also because I wanted to do international relations, I thought that it would be a very smart move to go out to another country, experience another culture, and also improve my English. And Leicester is quite a diverse city, so I think it was a great option for me personally.
Fantastic. Sounds like you're enjoying it. And for those of you who've not been to Leicester, Leicester's a big city. It's not a big city in kind of a London, a Manchester, a Birmingham way, but it's 300,000 people. And the campus is completely campus-based, so everything's all on one site. But then you're only a 5 to 10 minutes walk, and you're bang in the middle of a city centre as well. So it's kind of an urban environment within a city, but at the same time, a very self-contained campus, but everything is within easy walking distance. You don't need your Ubers to burn Lauren's bank account. So genuinely, that's one of the reasons that DMU becomes a very popular choice from a practical point of view, because he's ticking multiple different boxes. Rather than city or campus, we can offer city and campus. So Alex, we've got Morgana making this choice sort of through accidentally getting in touch with an agent at an exhibition in Lisbon. You're coming from Lincoln, which is an hour away to Leicester. So what was your research process in working out where you actually chose to go?
Yeah, so I started at the point that sort of everybody looks at, is I looked at what universities first of all was offering pharmacy. Again, I knew I wanted to do it, so it immediately cut down a few universities that didn't offer it or offered partial pharmacy courses that were built into other programs. Because again, thinking of that end goal of wanting to qualify as a pharmacist, you have certain regulations. So once I got the list, and there was a lot of universities that offered it, and I went through it sort of the long-winded way that I worked through each university, had a bit look at their course, their location, and just sort of what I could get from not just rankings, but also looked at a lot of student platforms like Student Room, to actually see what students were saying about it, because the websites are all very good, but they're obviously designed to get students interested. So I really wanted to know what the students felt. Narrowed it down to a list about 6, 7, so still a couple that I needed to cut down. But the real deciding factor for coming to DMU was actually the first time I came on an open day. And Lauren touched upon this, actually the vibe that you have on campus. So I knew the course was good, and my subject talk went through everything I wanted to know and reassured that the course was right for me. Being on campus for an open day, and actually just being on campus in general, there's such a real positive energy, and you get that all the way through the year, not on open days. And that's something that I wanted for myself, and it was something that very key, that it was like some campuses that are city campus can be spread out. So you'll have one lecture in one building, have to go to the other side of the city to go to your next lecture. You spend your whole time running around. As you said already, Jamie, all of our buildings are in one nice little circle. So I can go from my lecture room to the library, back to a lecture with a couple of minutes walk across campus, and still be a couple of minutes away from town. And it just made that atmosphere of like, I can see myself being here and not spend my whole time running around cities and transport.
Sounds great. I like it. You were clearly a very method-focused researcher.
Yeah.
I love that. Some people are very head-orientated. They want lists. They want to narrow the list down. They want to research. Some people are much more kind of heart-based. They go to an open day. They get that feeling, and that's it. They've decided. In reality, I think most people's decisions is a bit of both. But I love the fact that 3 people so far, your approach in terms of how you ended up coming here from sort of, sometimes it's a sort of almost situational chance type scenario, through to a real sort of formulaic step by step. It's really interesting seeing the way it's evolved. You guys watching will have seen my very subtle open day picture on the screen there. We do have an open day this coming Saturday. Unfortunately, we're not yet getting to the point where we can do big on campus open days, because obviously 3,000 or 4,000 people conversion to the city right now isn't necessarily considered a great idea. So they are still digital open days. We will have some students on campus and some staff on campus hosting sessions from there, rather than our bedrooms, kitchen and lounges, as you can see now. But we are bringing back campus tours in a week or two as well. So from the end of this month, you will be able to book to come on a campus tour in a small group with your family bubble, to physically see the university face to face. Do keep your eyes out for those. Hannah, I want to come to you on this one very quickly on the university point, because this is a really, really big part of the decision. What was your thought process in terms of how you prioritized and chose the university you ended up coming to?
I had a very similar experience to Lauren, where Russell Group University, I went to a grammar school, and Russell Group University was thrown at you and thrown at you. And originally I was like, I want to go to Leeds, you know, and I looked around and it seemed amazing. And it's actually a much more like almost academic course. And I felt quite overwhelmed, I think, when I went there. And I felt quite, I'm not sure if this is really me. I love fashion for a reason. It's creative, and this seems very academic based. And then when I came to DMU, the trips they offered, I've had the dream to go to New York. It's been a bit crushed by COVID-19. I have saved the money since before I came to uni, but the trips they offer are amazing. The lecturers just seem way more inspiring and much more creative and much more supportive in terms of you can do what you want to do. And the campus, yeah. Leicester is in the middle of the country, which means if you want to get anywhere in the country, it is never that far, which is amazing. And campus, like, even now, I don't live particularly, I prefer to live a little bit further out near one of my favourite parks, which is Victoria Park, if you ever come to Leicester. But I'm still only, you know, a 10-minute walk from campus, a 5-minute walk from town. Everything is so close. And I think when I visit like my brother in Manchester and we have to get a bus to get into town and then another bus to uni, it's like, I can lie in bed longer because I'm not spending hours and hours trekking around the place. It is amazing, the location, absolutely amazing. People always comment that when they come and visit.
It's a real shame we can't have open days right now, because definitely DMU is one of those places that you have on your list. Just like Lauren said, it was almost like, oh well, I've got to stick an extra one on there, I've got to have 5 choices, I want to spread my UCAS points a bit. It's one of those places that does tend to grab you when you're there. We have the open day, and it genuinely has an atmosphere that makes you feel welcome, and you can start visualizing yourself there. So our job tonight is to try and help folks visualize themselves there without them being able to physically arrive on campus. We are the virtual visualization of DMU. So I'm going to slightly jump off spec just because there's something you said there, Hannah, just because we can leap into it quickly. So traveling opportunities are a big part of the student experience. And at DMU, we have the scheme DMU Global that I popped on the screen. Here it is. DMU Global, essentially, it provides bursaries to support current students to go on international trips. They might be academic study focused trips, or more trips when you're getting broader lifestyle or volunteering skills. Have any of you guys been on a global trip? Just throw one each out there, where you've been, or if you've not yet had a chance to go because of the challenges of COVID, where you hope to go when it comes to. Alex, you were nodding enthusiastically. Where have you been, mate? Make me jealous.
So I've done 3. So I've done 2 to India, which is my biggest ones and ones that are always in my heart because they're my favourite ones. And then I actually did an academic one to Amsterdam as well. So I've had that combination of fun volunteering ones and then the academic ones, which is still great fun, but have an academic focus, so it was relevant to my course and the courses that went with me as well.
Sound amazing. If anyone from DMU Global is watching, I haven't yet been as a staff volunteer, so do bear me in mind. Any of you guys been on a global trip anywhere?
I've actually been on a localized global trip. I was actually supposed to go to Japan this year, but a bit like Hannah, COVID ruined my dreams there. But I have been on a local DMU trip to London. We went on a DMU trip to go have a look around the House of Lords. It was quite fancy, not gonna lie.
I can imagine. Yeah, the other half lived there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
DMU Global has reinvented itself to try to do trips and experiences are that are obviously more achievable within the current environment. But we're hoping as soon as we can, we'll get people going overseas again. Hannah, where was your eye on? Where was the trip you were lining up in your mind?
It was New York, and my grandparents even gave me like a little money so I could go there. It was very exciting, but I also wanted to go to Porto, which they also offer on my course. So I had 2 trips lined up this year, and I was all very excited. But I will go one day. I promise I will go.
Well, if we're talking about Porto, then Morgana can give you some local tips there, I'm sure, in terms of tracking that one down. If you do a bit of a friend of Morgana within the session, she might invite you back over to Portugal, you know, when she goes back next summer or something. How about yourself, Morgana? Have you been on any global trips, or do you hope to go on some global trips?
Yeah, I was on a global trip last year. It was an academic one to Prague with all media people who wanted to join. And it was very interesting, very fun. We got to do a lot of cool things. A shame that it's not happening this year, but I'm sure that the options will be very interesting as well.
Absolutely. And you guys watching, we're assuming most of you are going to be 2021 or maybe even 2022 students. So hopefully by that point, I mean, obviously we don't know, but hopefully as we get towards next autumn and moving forward, things will start to return to normal, and we'll be talking to you face to face rather than in these kind of virtual, in my case, floodlit environments that come under some kind of, you know, bright interrogation light. So we do really look forward to being able to see you face to face. But those big global experiences, you can still have a great university experience without them, but it's something that we try and really pride ourselves on, to give people those big picture world views that gives you the experiences, gives you the skills and the employability, but also gives you the memories to take back after university as well, to look back on. Right, okay, I'm going to go back on script here. I'm not very good at sticking to the plan. Accommodation. Now, accommodation is a big part of your student lifestyle, and there's no right or wrong way of doing university halls. Some people will go to a university that's 5 miles down the road and live with their parents. Some people will move as far across the country as they can, and some people, oh, Alex has disappeared, he's had enough, he's off. And some people will go and travel completely to different countries, as Morgana did. What were your priorities with accommodation, and what choices did you actually make? And Hannah, do you want to hit first on this one, and I'll try and find Alex?
So this DMU wasn't actually ended up being my first choice, but I ended up getting it during like, what's it called, the day when you just sort of end up, results day, that's the word I'm looking for.
That's the one.
And there wasn't that much accommodation left, but there was one that was left. So I literally just clicked on it was what it was and went for it. So I lived in Glassworks, which was amazing because it was, I didn't even have to walk to uni. It was like 30 seconds. You could see it from my bedroom window. The people I lived with were incredible. I had so much fun, and you could meet so many other people. It had like a little common room. It was just incredible, the accommodation. I loved it. I ended up moving out with the people that I lived with the next year to basically round the corner because the location was amazing. But it was luck really, but I kind of feel like everyone's so open-minded and everyone's in the same boat that you don't have that kind of fear because you're all new, you're all away from home for the first time. And I think whoever you get put with is in the exact same position. So it was a very easy transition, if that makes sense.
I think people forget that sometimes. They almost imagine they're moving into a situation where everyone knows everybody else apart from you. But of course, in reality, every single person is new. Every single person is looking to form those groups. So people are really, really sociable and almost overly chatty in those first few weeks. Everyone's so keen to make friends and form groups. Accommodation. Who else wants to talk on accommodation? Give me a little wave or just unmute. Go on. Lauren, then Alex.
Go on, Alex, I'll let you speak first. I don't know which way everyone is on their screen, but wherever you are.
Oh, he's done the muted. It's classic.
Yeah, so I sort of had a similar route. So when I first started looking at accommodation, I had a look at the accommodation platforms. I got to see all the different types of accommodation, where they were on campus, and went for one of our accommodations. Oh, you're back, Jamie? Yeah. Was it me that cut out there? No, back. Yeah.
We can hear you. Carry on.
That's fine. Perfect. But yeah, so I looked and I ended up booking one of our accommodations called Liberty Park. So on the map, it actually looks like it's quite far away from campus. But every day I could get in all the way across campus for maybe 4 minutes. So again, it was just like Hannah, I could roll out of bed. As much as you like to say you'll be up early and prepared for the day, you're a student, so you'll get out of bed, go to lectures, and it is just around the corner. So I was sharing with people that I'd never met before, but actually I actually managed to get in touch with them before moving in. So we use a lot of applying to DMU Facebook groups. So on that, we also had mini groups for accommodations. And just one day I just put on my group, is anybody in this flat? And I actually ended up meeting my housemates before I actually moved in. And it was just talking to them, getting to know them, and actually moving in, that really helped the nerves, that actually in some way you know them a bit, so you know roughly what they're like, what they're studying. And great throughout the year to really get their experiences, because they were on different courses to me. So it was really good sort of seeing where they were in their process in terms of exams, but also what they were studying in their interests.
Sounds great. I mean, you're right. Even the ones that are advertised as further from campus at DMU, in reality, are 10 minutes walk max. Everything is pretty self-contained. The campus is very, very zoomed in. So you think, oh gosh, that's a trek. In reality, it's just round the corner. Lauren, how is yourself? So I'm expecting another story here. I'm waiting for a saga. Come on, don't disappoint me.
You won't be disappointed. Well, as you can imagine, being this is my 5th year, I've lived in a lot of accommodation, a lot. And I stay every summer as well. So here's one for the transition students. Obviously, I can't predict in the future, but as of now, and for the past 4 years I've been staying here, DMU actually give basically a grant. They give you some money to help towards your fees if you're staying in student accommodation over summer. So yeah, throw that one out there. But no, student accommodation, like you were saying, honestly, the ones that say they're like far away from campus, they're really not. They're really, really not. Like, honestly, the furthest away you could possibly go from campus is 15 minutes. If you go any further, you're in a different city. Trust me. Like, if you're going to Loughborough University, if you're living further away from 15 minutes walk, like everything is so close. But I've lived in Newark Point. I've lived in Code, I've lived in Liberty Park, and I've lived in Oxford House, and I've lived in the Shoe and Boot Factory. 3 of those are with different accommodation providers, 2 with Unite. Unite Students is our biggest accommodation provider, well, across the whole of the UK, but especially in Leicester. Such an easy company to book with. I was a little bit the same as Hannah, given that I'd sort of gone into York Uni and then dropped out of York Uni to come here. I was on last on the list to get the places. I didn't get that whole, fast track kind of thing into it. So it was genuinely just a case of calling places and just saying, hey, do you have any space left? And Newark Point, which happens to actually be one of the most popular, or Newark Point, and I think it's now called Castle Court, is actually one of the most popular places in Leicester to live, and I actually managed to get a place there. But yeah, purely by luck. But I managed to meet maybe about 40% of my friendship group through there, which was great because my friendship group's from all over the world. I have some friends from Portugal and Brazil. Also have some friends have a friend from Hong Kong, mainland China, where else? Mexico, Dubai. I'm the British one in the friendship group. But yeah, and that all happened purely because we were in student accommodation, and you kind of just get thrown in together. And at the very beginning, it kind of feels like a bit of a whirlpool. You're just sort of like, what on earth is going on? Never been in this situation before. It's like your first day of school, but you can't go home, which is really daunting. But then because you can't go home, it kind of forces you to get used to it and actually really settle in so easily. I met a friend in the lift while I was going to do my laundry. She's now ended up being my best friend. She's gone, she's left uni, she's in Sheffield now, but still in touch to this day. My other best friend, we found actually whilst we were doing laundry that day. She's now in Egypt. But yeah, student accommodation. I think, and I often say this, I do a lot of the other telecommunications for uni, and I say this to people on the phone. Even if you live in Leicester, if you can financially do it, which you can, like, the accommodation can be relatively sort of affordable, especially if you can get into the university accommodations. I don't know what they're called, but there's some, and they're sort of around £99 a week, which, you know, you can support yourself on that if you've got a student loan as well. 100% do it, even if it's just for the 1 year, even if you live, like, you know, 20 minutes down the road, just for the experience, just to learn the life skills that you get through, you know, keeping your own bedroom, changing your own laundry, cooking your own food. But it's so easy to meet people. So yeah,
it is. It's getting increasingly popular actually for students to come from sort of half an hour away, live in halls in year one, and then move back with the parents year two and year three to save some cash, but having had that big experience, or in some cases commute in year one, make loads of mates, and then live in a shared house in year two.
Yeah.
So many different ways you can do the university experience. But you're right, those first weeks are kind of crazy, aren't they? It's like Big Brother without the cameras in halls of residence. You just thrown
really
in there,
is.
you know. It's a bit of an experiment. But I mean, I clearly went to university a while ago, but my mates from halls are still part of my close lifestyle now. And I went to one of my housemates who was French. I went to his wedding in Bulgaria. You know, so you do make friends who aren't just your uni friends for year one. They're genuinely your friends for life as well. And the experience you all share together, I think, forms a bond that's different to that within your sixth form or within your work careers down the line, because you're going through that kind of rite of passage period at the same time. Right, Morgana, I'm assuming that you didn't commute day to day from home. I'm assuming you needed accommodation. So what was important to you when choosing your accommodation?
You're very right. I did not commute. So with this agency that was helping students to go study abroad, we had a preparation meeting, which was like a big event because all of the students were there. And then we were introduced to an agency, landlord's agency, yeah. And everyone just ended up going to these flats. So everyone was student, everyone was going to DMU, and everyone was Portuguese. So there was a lot of Portuguese people moving to Leicester that year. But it was a private accommodation, but I met a lot of people, and I met a friend who I moved out of those flats and moved into the new ones. And we are still friends as well, but yeah, I've never been to student accommodation.
Sounds great. No, but I love the fact that each of the experiences and each of the motivating factors is so different. But definitely that first year is a big learning curve. Your overall marks you get in your course don't count towards your overall grade. It's all about finding your feet, finding your friendship groups, finding what's important to you, getting to grips with the whole independent student life experience, and then moving forward from there. And the accommodation experience is a massive part of that. Right, I want to talk about course a little bit. I'm conscious we've still got a bit to do in a bit of time, so we'll have to see how we get on. But course, you're all doing very different courses. Can you, relatively briefly, as I'm kicking over the kids' toys on the floor, can you decide pushed all the stuff that was causing a mess just out of the camera lines? Essentially, it's just a melee of chaos all around me. Can you describe your typical week on your course? Because doing a course like pharmacy is going to be very, very different to a course like fashion, and again, very, very different to the more sort of classroom-based subjects. So how is your typical week academically? Let's start with Hannah on your creative fashion course. What's a typical week like in fashion?
So my first year was quite different. And first year we did some really practical elements. So I actually learned to weave. I actually learned to knit, like on the big machines, which was incredible. So I did some really practical elements. I also do practical elements in terms of like AT, so learning like software, how to use Adobe packages, so Illustrator, InDesign, and that's very hands-on. So you've got the lecturer coming around being like, if you're stuck. But I also would then have lectures and seminars. I'd have like 2 free lectures and then 2 free seminars as well. Obviously that changes a little bit. Like I'm now in third year and it's all online. So I now tend to I don't do as much practical stuff, but we still do a lot of software stuff. So I still get a lot of support with helping to use Illustrator and InDesign. And I still have lectures and I still have seminars. But it's it's online now, but it's become like less practical over the years. But the first year, I think it's so you meet people as well. And I do some lab-based stuff as well. So for textiles materials, I do some really fun stuff. I do a big range, which is nice because it mixes it up.
I get almost surprised yourself then. I do some fun stuff. It's like, whoa. I know. So Alex, you do some fun stuff in pharmacy. Obviously, very
yes,
serious.
yeah,
100%.
100%.
It'd be fun as well.
Yeah, so it's that you just sort of hit the nail on the head there. It's serious stuff, but actually it's done in a way to keep things engaging, and all the things apply, so you're not just doing things for the sake of it. So my usual week is built up of lectures and then smaller seminars. So in those seminars we do more of the clinical skills, so consultations, responding to somebody coming into, say, a pharmacy, types of symptoms and engaging, all the way to lab practicals. So on a typical week I'll have a couple of practicals, and again, as you go through the topics and you're doing different areas, the practicals you do varies, and it relates to the facilities that we have. So in first year, my practical series was based on formulations. So I was actually in a lab and I was making creams, ointments, vitamin tablets. And that's at a point where you think, I've not really got that experience to be making those, but it's done in a way to take you step by step. And then in later years, I've done microbiology. So I had to wear, funny enough with the situation, I had to wear a full hazmat suit because I was going into our sterile products labs, got to make some vaccinations. And it's those type of skills that even if you go into community pharmacy where you're not in charge of making those products, you've got to know how they're made in order to support the patient on the end. And it's those types of practicals that we all love, even though some of them are like 4 hours, they fly by because of what you're covering and how important and fun they are.
Fantastic. You'll be excited to know that my 8-year-old tonight decided she wanted to be a pharmacist. She made her own lip balm, was her mission tonight. So she made her own lip balm from all these different composite pieces of kit, different things of wax and different food colorings and flavorings. And then she said, what job do I do? How do I get to do this all the time? So we talked about pharmacy and pharmaceutical and cosmetic science. So she is, she wanted to be a fashion designer, Hannah, but she's moved on now. It's all about designing the cosmetics, you know. But she is only 8, so she may have changed her mind whilst we've been live streaming. So we will see. Thank you for that. Morgana, on your joint course with your 2 subjects, how does your typical week work? Are you mainly classroom based, or do you have sort of more hands-on stuff as well?
Yeah, so the typical week, it's split between lectures and seminars, and I have a workshop that's practical journalism, and that one is very hands-on. You literally go into the workshop, you listen to the tutor talking for about like 10-15 minutes, and then you go out, find a story, and then write it, and obviously with the guidance of the tutor. We also work with InDesign, and we had to go with Premiere Pro last year as well to try and do some video journalism. So again, very hands-on. But then I also have the more theoretical subjects. So international relations, it's more of a theory and academic rather than a practical course. So a lot of reading on that side, but it's great fun as well, and we do get to have very interesting debates amongst ourselves in the seminars with the tutors. So it's really
cool. You're breaking up slightly there, so we got the gist of it. Essentially, when you're doing a joint degree, one of the advantages is you can have almost 2 different learning styles within one course. So you've got there within the journalism, you've got the kind of workshop orientated, quite punchy, and then you've got the more academic research, debate, and topical subjects within the international relations. And if you do, you can't join, for example, physics and dance and do something as abstract as that. But you can do 2 quite different subjects together and give yourself that dual experience, develop 2 different sets of skills, but also give you 2 different styles of learning as well. So Lauren, in the world of the business school, how does a typical week play out within your academic life?
So You know what? I think it's gone quite differently year on year. My first week was a lot of introductory stuff. Basically, all of the business courses. So anything from business, marketing, enterprise, international business, anything business related or enterprise related. We all share quite a common course for the first year. So you do a lot of things like introduction to enterprise, introduction to human resource management, introduction to contemporary management, and introduction to a few things that has been 4 years since I've done, so I can't remember. But basically, it's making sure that coming into the second year, everyone's on a level playing field. So with that, there's, you know, it's quite a varied week. It's very varied. I think that's the best way to put it, in that you're kind of skipping from one thing to another constantly, but it's really fun because there's a lot of things, especially, so my A levels, I did politics, economics, and 2 Englishes. So never anything specifically business. I didn't do business studies, like a lot of people on my course didn't do. So I'd never really experienced what there was to do. So all these sort of introductory courses gave me a really great opportunity to figure out what it was in business that I liked. Knew I liked business, knew I had an interest, but not quite, you know, specifically what it was, because business is such a broad subject. You can go into anything. So yeah, there was all of the introductory things. On to my second year, when you get to choose your modules, it was a little bit more focused, because obviously I'd chosen modules that I knew I liked, that were relevant. They all kind of married up with each other. And yeah, it was just sort of a mixture between seminars, workshops, and lectures, really. Lectures for business, because we are the biggest faculty, and business is one of the biggest degrees that the university offers. My lectures are pretty big, sort of around 170 people in person. Still the same being with it online at the moment. That's still the same. Even in masters, I still get around 177 to, I'd say, about 200 people. But obviously in person, it would be less than 200. But seminars, I usually get around maybe 15 people for a seminar, which is great, because it's literally just a one-to-one discussion, a bit like we're all having now. It's literally just the seminar, you know, just a discussion about what we've learned. So yeah, I would say that's basically how it goes, just lectures and seminars and a bit of sort of one-to-one, you know, on your own learning. And yeah, basically that's how it goes.
Fantastic, thank you. I did a business degree and I didn't do a business A level either, so I'm exactly with you. I did sort of social sciences and humanities type A levels, and then was torn between a social science, like I was like a history. I was on my heart said history and my head said business, and I also did the business option, and I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the placements as well. Right, I'm going to roll 2 subjects into one now, just to because I'm conscious people have got to go and have their din-dins, not just us lot, but you know, the audience, they're going to be sitting there going, oh God, I'm starving. When are they going to stop? So what we're going to talk about now, we're going to quickly talk about life outside of course. So obviously studying is a big part of a degree, but it's not the only part of a degree experience. You know, some people don't think about the social scenes at all. I want to talk a little bit about part-time jobs, clubs and societies, plus just your lifestyles generally. How much time do you have to do fun stuffs? And you haven't got to necessarily tick off all of those things in one conversation. It's almost whatever you feel is a relevant thing to talk about in terms of that extra lifestyle, because it's these extra bits that make university what it is, but also these extra bits give you lots of skills as well, often less tangible academic skills, but still skills that will take you forward in your life. So who wants to talk about that while the last off first? Lauren, you put in our chat here. Can I go first? And my answer to you is certainly not. No, yes, you can. Go for it.
So in terms of outside of university, I thought I'd go first. I could try and remember everything to put into one, because I do quite a bit. So I'm part of the football society. So I do women's football and futsal, which takes up 4 days of my week. So I have training. We don't play matches at the moment, but we do have, 3 days. We do quite a lot of training. We don't have any matches, but ordinarily, we'd be doing matches every single Wednesday against all different unis across the Midlands. And then we also have soccer size and strength and conditioning, which takes place on a Tuesday. Not great. It hurts my legs, it hurts my abs, but it's great fun. I honestly met so many people through it. Also through uni, I do a lot of key networking through university. So I'm quite in the business world. I'm sure many of you know, but it's really important to network. And I take that role quite seriously. So I do quite a lot of networking. I also do a lot of networking in terms of linking PhD students to outside people within Leicester and within Birmingham. So across the East Midlands, through my placement, I've come to know quite a lot of big business heads. And for DMU students, especially in their PhD, to be able to get that contact time with other, professional business people is really, really important. So I focus a lot of my time around that. I do quite a lot on LinkedIn. As well as that, I also have a job at Morrison's, which is great. It's just down the road from me. Made some great friends there, but it's also, Leicester, as you probably know or may not know, Leicester's a huge business hub. Not very often spoken about, but massive business hub. So not only is there sort of your run-of-the-mill cashier, Tesco kind of Morrison's, Asda jobs, we have all those supermarkets here as well. There's a lot of retail jobs on offer. There's an awful lot of factory jobs on offer. But yeah, so, great way to make money. Also made some friends and had a job all the way through COVID, as well as my job with uni. Leading on to another thing, I'm also a student ambassador. So yeah, I feel outside of my degree, my time is full. I used to do a lot of volunteering. A lot of it's been cancelled now, but a lot of you may know that the famous castle in Leicester is actually our prison. The university does actually do a lot of work with the prison, because obviously, people go into prison make bad choices, but they still need to be integrated back into university. And the university does an awful lot of volunteering there. I do that too.
Blimey, I'm amazed you managed to fit us in this evening. Thank you very much. I feel honoured. An hour of your time sounds amazing. At 8 o'clock, I imagine you'd just run out as you're on to your next job. Thank you for that. I'm conscious we've got only a bit of time left, so I think I want to hear a few more stories, because I think it's important we give this flavour outside of the extracurricular bit. Who wants to jump in next in terms of what you do outside of your course and how you balance your lifestyle together? Morgana, go for it.
Okay, so outside of my course, I've always done a few things only. So I joined DMU Acapella, which is a singing society, and it's great fun. It's different from everything else most people will do in their courses, so it's a great way to take your mind off of things. I also do some stuff with Demon Media, which is a student media group, and they have their own radio station, TV station, and their own magazine. And you don't need to be a media student in order to get involved. You just need to be a little bit curious and excited and motivated to work. And I also did some stuff with DMU local as well, volunteering, which was great fun. And I got to meet some more people. And you learn different life skills as well, I think. So it was great fun.
You're lucky your Wi-Fi is having a bad night. Otherwise, I would have got you to give us an a cappella demonstration. So you're quite lucky that you've managed to get away with that. The question on the screen there, you get Wednesday afternoons off, Cahoyo, so you don't tend to have class on a Wednesday. And some of the formal clubs and societies tend to do their matches or spend their community time there. But also you fit it around in the evenings and the weekends as well. And not necessarily all courses are going to be in class 9 to 5. So it's just a case of managing your time, which is one of the skills that you get. But the university structure is very much designed to give you time to do some of these core things that add value to yourself as an individual and yourself actually as an academic as well, because the more rounded you are, the more overall value you are to the university. So thank you for the question. And I love the old little image there as well. So Alex, yourself, your lifestyle, when you're not in the, you know, hard-hitting world of pharmacy, what are you doing with your spare time?
Yeah, so like Lauren, I'm pretty much on the go. Obviously, you decide how much you want to get involved with. So I know friends that go to university, do their lecture seminars, go home, do what studying they need, watch telly. I like to be quite active. So obviously all of us here are student ambassadors. So we represent the university at open days and things like this. So we're actually paid by the university. And that's obviously very flexible. So that works around our schedule. We can see actually if a shift gets shown like tonight, we can all go, actually, I've done my studying for this week, I'm comfortable doing this, and sign on. So that's a good one. But in terms of societies, so actually I have been part of multiple societies each year and even been on committee for a few of them. And again, it's about organising yourself in the weirdest way possible. Is if I've got a busy week, so one of my societies I was part of was canoeing. So we used to do regular sessions each week. And there were some weeks that I had to go, I can't make it this week. It's a bit of a crazy week. I've got some big practicals coming up. I won't make this session. And that's the part of the flexibility of the societies, is that they are extra. So you take part in all the fun bits. If you need a bit of time off, you do. And the same about the DMU Local. So I've been a big part of Local, the volunteering programme since the start. And these events that get advertised all the way throughout the year, again, I look at it, and then if I look at my timetable and I've got maybe a couple of lecturers, I'll get in touch with those lecturers and say, actually, there's this project I really want to do. So I did a lot on stem cells, getting people to sign up to the Anthony Nolan register. Lecturers are really keen on you to do that because it's really important for you as well as the wider community. So there is a bit of leniency that you obviously need to be going to your lectures, but they understand that actually this project is really beneficial to you as well. So you've got lots of chances to get involved in anything that you want to get involved with.
It's amazing how much stuff you will do. Honestly, I'm feeling like I need to get out more. I'm feeling a bit inadequate here. Because the contributions you're making, the things you're doing also, it's not just about, oh, I'm going to go and do something fun on a certain evening. Lots of the things you're talking about are massive, giving your time to add value and help others, which is, you know, admirable, really, when you think about the time pressures you're under in your own degrees. I'm genuinely feeling a little bit, overwhelmed by how much stuff you do. Hannah, how about yourself? Are you putting your feet up and watching the telly in the evening, or have you got plenty of things on the go?
Well, I'm going to be honest. My first 2 years, I was more of a party student, so I wasn't I didn't join in with the society. I turned up to socials, which is the drinking aspect, and I met a lot of people on the drinking aspect. However, towards the end of my year 2, I did start doing DMU Local. I went litter picking and helped out at Age UK in John Lewis. And I think I just had an attitude change to what I wanted to get out of uni. I've always had a part-time job, worked in Topshop, which was actually amazing because everyone ends up being students. I met students that were on really similar courses to me, like studying similar things. So we had so much in common. I'm still friends with a lot of these people, and it's an amazing way to link and meet people. This year, however, I am getting more involved. I've joined, I'm big on sustainability, and I've joined Eco Group, which is amazing. And I'm actually linking with them because I want to start a small grant scheme to set up a living wall at DMU. So hopefully we'll have a living wall this year. And I'm doing some more volunteering at a cafe this year. I think it's really up to you how much you want to get involved. And I think it's, if you like me and you just want to party in your first, you don't feel bad for doing that. You know, at the end of the day, it's okay. But you will at some point want to get involved, I think. And there are so many things out there that you can get involved in, so many.
Absolutely. Don't let the lists of things that people have done kind of psych you out thinking, oh my God, I can't do that. I can barely get up and do my A-levels. How could I possibly? You know, it's all about finding your own balance and finding what you do. And you pick up lots of these things accumulatively. It isn't like on day one of the course, you're suddenly doing all of these things. You meet your mates in your halls. You get comfortable in your environment. You start your course. You meet more people. Maybe you go to a freshers fair and you join up to a society and meet more people. Then you talk to friends who are taking part in certain opportunities, and the whole thing kind of snowballs. And you find all of those different things you want to do, and it evolves over a period. It really isn't the case that it's all happening from day one and off you go. Alex, you wanted a quick point to add in there.
Yeah, so just in that discussion, just
you can't have forgotten something you've done, surely, after the list you gave earlier.
No, I'm not adding any more. We'll leave it at that. But obviously, we've all quite busy ourselves, but you tend to see that sort of anything that you get involved with, even people that just get involved in the seminars and take part in those, you really add into that student experience. It's one thing to come to university, get your degree, go on to get a job, but we're not just talking about a week's course here. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 years. And these societies, these trips, these volunteering opportunities, and even just part-time jobs in and around the city or on campus, they all add so much to that experience, whether it's people you meet or just having a bit of fun along the way to, again, switch off from your course. It really makes that time critical. And I think if I hadn't come to university, I would have really limited those opportunities and those experiences.
Beautifully put, Alex. Thank you. Right. That is really good sound advice. And I think that's, so the final piece actually, before we wave goodbye and go and have our dinners, I can smell dinner cooking here now. It's starting to like tantalize me while we're going. Not that I'm distracted. I'm focused, eyes on. So if you were talking, which you are ironically, to this audience of 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are about to embark on this journey themselves, what would your word of wisdom, your top tip, your piece of advice that you think someone should take away? This is a bit of pressure on yourselves now. What is your final kind of word of guidance to these guys watching? I'm going to go whilst you think about it. My top one is exactly what Alex has just said. I'm nicking your work here, mate. Basically, even when you're in your A-levels and you're doing your BTECs, it's never too early to start adding all of these different values and experiences. And you've got to write a personal statement. If you're in year 13, it's this term. If you're in year 12, it's next year. And the more things you do within your school and college career and outside of school and college, the more things you've got to write about in the statements and the more desirable you'll be to a university. So get stuck in now. Don't just wait until you get to uni. Right, those top tips. Where are we going first? Lauren, you're unmuted. Go for it.
So my top tip that I always give for uni, this applies highly to anyone who wants to do a placement. But basically, all I'd say is try your hardest in your first year. Everyone says that your first year doesn't count, and if you're not doing a placement, maybe it doesn't count. Maybe you can just have a party. But if you're going for a placement, then they're going to use your first year results for your placement. Now, if you go to an employer and say, "Oh, well, my first year didn't count. I had a great time. I only got a 2-2, or 2-2 is quite good to be fair, but I only got a third," then they're going to go, "Well, why are you going to, try hard in this year?" So all I would say is in your first year, don't think that it's just an easy pass. By all means, have a great time. I'm a bit like Hannah, thoroughly took advantage of going out, and do go out, because if you don't go out, you regret it in your second year when you got to work harder. But focus on your studies and make sure you work hard, because if you go to an employer for your placement year and say, "Oh, they said it didn't count," they're going to say, "Well, you don't count in our application process." So that's my top tip.
I also think you form those habits in year one as well, don't you? You form those foundations of where you study and how you study. And if you, we've all seen students, mates who get into bad habits. It's quite hard to get out of them once you're into that routine and you're into certain social groups. So you're right. It's all about that balance. And getting the balance early helps you keep it maintained through the course. If the balance is tipped at the start, it's quite hard to tip it back in year 2 and back in year 3. So sound advice, Lauren. Right, anyone else want to throw some words of wisdom in there? Alex, go for it. Your hand beat Hannah by a split second.
Sorry, Hannah, I'll let you go in a second. But yeah, my biggest thing is obviously coming to university is like a quite scary and nervous time. But genuinely, from the moment you get here, to sort of help with that is get involved in what you can. So start talking to your course mates, but then again, we spoke about all the opportunities that are available, and even joining somebody, so all the socials do taster sessions, being brave. And it is a scary step, but going out there and even trying to talk to a few new people, very quickly you get comfortable, and then you meet their friends, and you build this whole network that really makes your time important. So be brave and take the first step by getting involved in anything that you see that really interests you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Hannah, he did beat you by a split second, but now is your moment of glory. What are your words of advice to the audience watching?
Mine would be, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. If you just give stuff a go, like talk to your tutors, get involved in the seminars, talk to the people, discuss things. Like the more you actively give it a go, the more you're gonna get back and return from it and like grow from that experience. I think I wish someone had told me that, because I think sometimes I can be a bit half-hearted, and I've had a bit of a change, but I've really learned the more you put in, the more you get out in terms of everything. So
I think
give
that's
it
a
a go,
good moral for life.
shot.
That is, I think the more you put in, the more we should have that on a t-shirt. I think that's definitely, it genuinely is true though. The more literally you do in your experience, the more value you'll add in the short term, and the stronger your CV will be in the long term, the more networks and relationships you will have. It all adds to the fun, but also adds to the value for money and adds to the productivity as well. Very wise words. Right, Morgana, no pressure, but going last, this means you are literally the words they will take away with them through the whole of the evening. So, you know, I don't want to sort of put pressure on, but expectations are pretty high right now. What are you thinking? What would your words of advice be to anybody watching?
I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed coming into uni, and I just wanted to stress that yes, all the opportunities are out there, but you don't have to join everything or know everything about everything in the first week. You can slowly learn about these opportunities. You can keep an eye out for your emails, because there's a lot of communications going around from DMU and the volunteering. And then there's the Facebook groups for the different societies, the DSU web pages. So you have plenty of platforms to visit to get informed, and they will not go anywhere. So just take your time, settle in, and go with it. You know.
Thank you very much. So, closing words now from me. First of all, thanks so much for watching. We've gone over time, but I think we've got so many exciting stories and so many different angles. It was absolutely worth it. So, thank you for watching. But also, you guys, thank you so much for contributing. You're amazing. The word ambassadors for the university is completely true. You've done a fantastic job, and everyone watching will hopefully really have got value, both in terms of the experience you've talked about, the journeys you've been on, but also all those tips and guides you've put in there. So thank you so much for your time as well. If you're watching this either live or you're watching it on YouTube after we've logged off and are long gone from the live stream, on our website there's a function called Student Chat, which is using a platform called UniBuddy. There's a whole load of student profiles. You can jump on there, find the ambassador you think looks the best fit for a conversation with yourself. They could be from the course that you want to do. They could be from your part of the world. They could be having interest in sort of lifestyles that you're thinking is something you want to talk about. You can jump onto that platform and you can actually have a one-to-one conversation with our student ambassadors on there as well and find out more information. So don't feel that this is a one-off chance to find out about student life and that's it. There are always live opportunities as well. Right, we're going to sign off and leave you guys to it. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of the evening and bye-bye. Says Jamie as he fumbles around for the clicker. See you later.